Yo people, welcome back to another Cobra Kai video. This time it's another what if. I know it's been a while, and this time it's going to be a what if Miguel never got injured at the end of season 2 of Cobra Kai. Now before I start, I'm going to make it clear that I will do a what if Miguel didn't get injured. However, I'm still going to try and find a way to connect it to the actual story that we got and try to connect it so that we still get the same outcome in terms of him winning the Sekai Taikai and all of that sort of stuff. Also, if you want me to do any other what ifs for Cobra Kai, for WWE, for Star Wars, etc., let me know down below in the comments. I'd also appreciate if you could leave a like on the video, let me know your thoughts as well, and sub to the channel, and let's get on with it. Now for me, Miguel only got injured in the show because he was just stronger than everyone else and ahead of everyone else with his training, so injuring him was the only way to really have him have any struggles going forward, because he was the strongest team fighter and his time out would allow others to catch up, like Hawk. And Robby, he was kind of close, but this allowed Robby to close the gap between them in the power rankings. And another reason this happened was basically to flip the script and have Miguel end his dark phase and start joining the light, and have Robby start his dark phase away from Miyagi-Do. So in order to start this theory, we need Miguel to stay in his dark phase and Robby in his good guy story, which means that we would need Miguel to actually break Robby's arm in the school fight, because that's what stops him from getting kicked over the balcony. So in the moment when Miguel is having the flashbacks and he's having all those thoughts in his head while he has Robby in the lock, he's about to show mercy. We could have him feel conflicted, but he still goes on to break Robby's arm. Maybe he sees it as a power move to show that he's still the strongest or the most dominant fighter, or maybe it's because he's jealous that Robby is Johnny's son, or that he's dating Sam, or whatever the reason is. However, as Robby lays in pain, Miguel just stands over him and then runs off with Tori following him. This changes everything for the storyline, especially season 3, because I don't think Sam gets closer to Miguel in season 3 because they don't have those hospital scenes. She doesn't side with Miguel because he's the victim, and I think if anything, Tori would be even more in love with Miguel, even though he would feel conflicted throughout the season. Also, let's not forget, Kreese would still kick Johnny out of Cobra Kai, so when he goes to the dojo, Miguel and the others would side with Kreese, even if Miguel may be a bit hesitant. I think Kreese would also be hyping up Miguel as the King Cobra, which he likes for his newfound ego, and at times it makes him feel better about any guilt he might be feeling. I'd also have Tori be someone that is like a little devil in Miguel's ear, always justifying his actions because she loves him. Anything that Miguel does bad, she praises it. Kreese, he praises it. Johnny may try to tell Miguel's mum, and Miguel would ignore his mum and keep going to Cobra Kai, which makes their relationship go down as well because he's ignoring her advice. And by the way, Cobra Kai would actually be pretty OP at this point because it would be Red Mohawk Hawk, Tori and Miguel leading Cobra Kai. One thing I think would be cool to see is have Hawk and Miguel have a bit of tension amongst them, with the whole no mercy thing getting to them, making their friendship competitive, a bit heated, and causing a divide between them. We could have a scene where they fight each other as part of a sparring or a training or a demonstration, and things get heated with Miguel losing his cool and knocking Hawk down to the floor because he can't afford to lose the fight, to lose his King Cobra status, so he takes out his friend basically. This would enrage Hawk, and then throughout the season we'd have everything play out the same at the Cobra Kai dojo, but this time obviously with Miguel witnessing all the things that happen and seeing how Hawk becomes more and more evil, seeing how Kreese manipulates people and it starts to make him snap out of it. Miguel would obviously be seeing things like Kreese getting rid of the weak members, Hawk destroying Dimitri's arm and that whole arcade fight thing that happens, Hawk destroying his ex-bully in those new member trials. But this beating that Hawk gives out could also tie into his general frustrations, his feelings, maybe the conflict with Miguel, maybe a feeling that he wants to be the new King Cobra and wants to step out of Miguel's shadow. Stuff like that, which adds on to the beating he gives that ex-bully. I think where it starts to click for Miguel is seeing people like Kyler join Cobra Kai, because I think it would annoy him that he joined karate, or he started karate to stop people like Kyler. So the fact that he's on the same team as Kyler would hit home that maybe he is on the wrong team, maybe he is doing the wrong things. And then when Kreese tells them all to steal that Cobra from the zoo, this mission is the one where Miguel draws the line because it involves actually doing a crime. I think as they go on to steal the snake, Miguel would ditch all of them and not be involved, and Hawk would feel responsible to see out the task as it would place him at the top as the King Cobra. After Miguel ditches everyone, I'd then have Miguel quit karate. He's acknowledged that him pushing the boundaries of the dark side and going on this quest for power has actually cost him his friendship with Hawk, his dynamic with his mum, and most importantly Johnny, who is the reason that he even started karate to begin with. Miguel realizes that Kreese is basically the reason why everything is getting worse in his life because of the whole no mercy teachings, so he feels bad and acknowledges his mistakes, like I said, by quitting karate. This break would still cause a break like in season 3 for Miguel, where it allows others to catch up on the power rankings like Hawk. Miguel might think it's better to not carry on because that's 2 times where he's let the Cobra Kai No Mercy way rule him, at the All Valley in season 1 versus Robby, and the school fight in season 2 versus Robby, where in this case he's broken Robby's arm. On top of the other negatives that it's adding to his life, like we spoke about, his relationship with his mom, with Hawk, etc. We could even see that throughout the season, Miguel is actively avoiding Johnny because at first he thinks he's better than Johnny's teachings because he's the strongest he's ever felt, and like I said, with Tori and Kreese fueling his ego, it delays him from seeing the truth. And after he quits karate, I'd still have Miguel avoid Johnny at the beginning only because he's ashamed of what he's become, he's embarrassed to even speak to Johnny, and he feels like Johnny won't speak to him anyways. While all of this has been happening, we could have Johnny trying to help Robby while his arm was broken, trying to get back into his life, but Robby, he does the usual, hates his dad, hates Johnny, and says that his arm was basically broken because of Johnny's teachings, because Johnny was more focused on teaching a stranger than helping his own son. And I think that this would cause Johnny to fall back into his drunken lifestyle the way that we met him in season 1, and he's basically lost all of his students, including his star student to Kreese, which obviously would annoy him. His son still hates him and probably hates him even more now because of this injury, but I do think that Johnny's rot would eventually end with Miguel being the one to reach out to Johnny and ask him to basically forgive him, and that he's not going to be doing karate anymore because of everything that's happened. Like I explained, he's acknowledged his mistakes, he wants to quit, but Johnny will not allow him to quit. Personally, I don't think Johnny would hold anything against Miguel for breaking Robby's arm. He's obviously not going to champion that behavior, but I think he would be more disappointed. He wouldn't be like frustrated or raging or whatever, but he would be disappointed with everything that's happened, and I don't think he would reject Miguel either or avoid him. I think if anything, he'd try even harder with Miguel because he doesn't want Miguel to lose himself and become a bum like he did when he left high school. I do think Johnny would be the reason for Miguel getting back into karate. Like I said, he's very stubborn, so he won't let Miguel just quit and do nothing. They'd start doing their training montages again like in season 1, where it's just them two, and eventually those two would go on to form Eagle Fang, just like in season 3 anyways, so everything in that aspect would still play out the same. As for Daniel, he would be even more angry with Cobra Kai, with Miguel, with Johnny throughout the whole season, because obviously one of his students has had his arm broken. He'd still go on the whole Japan trip and everything, all of that would still play out the same because things aren't even that serious in comparison to what actually happened, where a kid ends up paralyzed, Robby's in jail, all of those kind of things. I think all the Miyagi-Dos would stay the same in terms of their whole storylines, people like Sam and everything, but let's focus on Robby now. I think with Robby having to take a break from karate with his arm, waiting until it heals and everything, he'd be very much in his head, very angry. I think he might lash out at people like Daniel and Sam. He starts to question the teachings of Miyagi-Do, like what's the point of being honorable if it just leads to injuries, failures, losses? Maybe Robby still attends Miyagi-Do training, but he's just watching obviously from the sides, and he then gets tired of hearing the same Miyagi-Do this, wax on this, wax off that, the usual stuff. Maybe during even one of the trainings, he starts interrupting Daniel by saying they should be getting to offense, and obviously this will trigger Daniel. It probably leads to an argument, and then Robby quits. Overall, what this would create for Miguel and for Robby is that yin and yang that we all liked from season 1 and 2, to the point that both of them even quit karate, but for different reasons. This allows Sam and Dimitri to still shine like in season 3 and to do more solo stuff and gain their way up the power rankings. However, once Robby leaves, Kreese would obviously recruit him and make promises to Robby, promise him that he's going to be the King Cobra, tells him that under his teachings he'll shed that loser skin, the loser mentality, and the usual things that Kreese likes to say to manipulate and to mud the whole of Miyagi-Do. He tells Robby that he'll be able to get revenge on Miguel under him and reach his full potential under him. Once Robby joins Cobra Kai, this obviously will piss off Hawk because he sees the favoritism towards Robby and he's annoyed because he's worked hard to become the new King Cobra and all of that is irrelevant. So that will all piss off Hawk and that will start to play on his mind as we get to see the redemption, just like we did in season 3. So yeah, everything else in season 3 gets to play out exactly the same, pretty much the same if anything, because we now have Miguel who's trying to redeem himself. Hawk is going to redeem himself. Robby is actually joining the dark side exactly as season 3 happened. So we've got to the same part but through different routes. I do think that Miguel initially would start to try and recruit Hawk, but they aren't really on speaking terms because of the whole incident at Cobra Kai. But Miguel would at least apologize and start creating doubts in Hawk's head for when he does redeem himself. I would personally have scenes where obviously Miguel would apologize to his mum and to Sam, to everyone that he's hurt, and speaking to Sam in particular would start that connection between them two again heading into season 4, and it would be the reason why Miyagi-Do and Eagle Fang start to unite as well ahead of season 4. I think he'd start avoiding Tori and Cobra Kai's in general. He doesn't want anything to do with them. Even if Tori is looking for him, I think he'd avoid her. In terms of the house fight, I think things can still play out the same. All the characters we need would still be there. The only reason I wouldn't have Robby is because we could still do a thing where, I don't know, his arm is healing or whatever, and he just shows up at the end to show everyone that he has joined Cobra Kai, and Miguel would actually be there to defend people like Sam and Dimitri, which obviously would be the first time Tori acknowledges that Miguel has actually left Cobra Kai and will no longer be a part of all of that. But overall, we'd end up at a similar point where season 3 ends, with Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do joining forces, Cobra Kai unites and gains Terry Silver. And yeah, I think from here on, we should get to the same conclusions as we saw in season 6, with Miguel and Cobra Kai winning the Sekai Taikai and all of that stuff. As always, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought was good, anything that you change in particular. Let me know any other what ifs you'd like to see. Like I said, it can be Cobra Kai, WWE, Star Wars, MCU, Marvel, all of that stuff. I'd appreciate if you could leave a like on the video as well. Sub to the channel for more content. I will be more active. I know I've taken like a week or 2 off recently, but we will be back. And thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day.